Software analytics. Your business depends on software, all your apps, your databases, your social media, everything. So the last thing you need is a problem with it. New Relic Software Analytics gives you powerful, real-time insights into your software so you can spot problems and fix them before they become big problems. Check it out free for 30 days. Go to newrelic.com/radio. That's NEWRELIC.com/radio. newrelic.com/radio. This episode of More Stories with the great Patton Oswalt, brought to you by Stamps.com. With the holidays almost here, you don't have time to go to the post office. Traffic, parking. It's going to be packed with everyone mailing holiday gifts and packages. So do what I do. Use Stamps.com instead. With Stamps.com, you can avoid all the hassle of going to the post office during the holiday season. Everything you would do at the post office, you can do right from your desk. Buy and print official U.S. postage using your own computer and printer. Print postage for any letter or package the instant you need it. Then the mailman picks it up. Easy and convenient. I use Stamps.com. I want you to use Stamps.com. Right now, get this special offer when you use my last name, Mohr, M-O-H-R. It's a no-risk trial, plus a $110 bonus offer that includes a digital scale and up to $55 free postage. Don't wait. Go to Stamps.com before you do anything else. Click on the microphone at the top of the homepage. Type in Mohr, M-O-H-R. That's Stamps.com. Enter Mohr. Our good friend Matthew McGrain is up and running on the Amazon list. Good job, Matthew McGrain. Matthew McGrain went to jmohr.com, clicked the Amazon banner, and he writes, "Greetings. After 9 years of marriage, I found out that my wife was a mattress back, and I kicked her the hell out. I never heard mattress back before. That's awesome. I just used the J. Mohr banner to go to Amazon and ordered Elaine Karen 1,500 thread count sheets from my bed. They're going to feel nice on my select comfort bed as I go on a gash bender. I enjoy your podcast. Cheers, Matthew McGrain, Rochester, New York." Matthew, forget that lady. Go on your bender. And thank you for using the Amazon banner on jmohr.com. All the proceeds go to my kids' college fund. That's not a lie. If you go to jmohr.com, click the Amazon banner, I will read your name on this podcast and make you famous amongst your friends. Matthew McGrain, well done, sir.
Put your name on it. Just put your name on it. That's all I say. Be a man or a woman. Put your name on it.
Well, I'd like to hear about it, potheads.
How the fuck you gonna know how to be great if you don't study greatness? Look at the game change.
Donuts.
If you want a battle, it's either that you will or you won't.
You know, you're not a bad-looking man, Mr. Gals.
But you are, Blanche. You are in that chair.
There's something wrong with us. Something very, very wrong with us.
Hey, man.
So we're starting.
Yeah, we're
This
good.
is the opening for your show?
I'll have
this
all
week?
the ham.
I'd like all the ham, please. Let me. In fact, I'd like to not lean forward because my belly fat is crushing my organs.
Here, we'll get an extension,
go.
like
Okay.
a seatbelt extension
Yes,
in an airplane.
Could I have a helper mic, please?
We need a helper
mic.
Patton
Thank you.
Oswalt, More Stories, episode 200-something. Thank you, everybody, for your comments on iTunes and stuff. And, Patton, if you're performing any place, where do they get all your dates?
When does this go up?
This will go up Monday. We're putting you right to the front of the pack because you are what they call in the business a get. Patton Oswalt.
Gosh. Well, if this goes up Monday, there's really... you can hear me. Okay, if this is up on Monday, December 2nd, on December 3rd, you can hear me on the best show on WFMU, the third to last episode ever of the 13-year-old, one of the earliest radio show / podcasts out of New Jersey.
WFMU?
WFMU. Anyone who's listening, you can find it on WFMU.org. The night before, as you're listening to this now, I would have been at the Largo, but that show is over.
That show's over. You missed Largo
you missed
because
me at the Largo.
You did not have a time machine like Stewie Griffin.
And then I'm not really doing anything else in December.
Good for you.
Yeah, I'm going to take the month off.
For you?
Yeah.
Little me time?
I need a month. I just did the new episode. I did the new episode. Good God. I did my new special in July. It comes out in January. So I have that You know,
Well,
I'm in that
can they
twilight
pre-order
zone.
it? Let's pile on that.
Well, it's on Epix. I don't know how you get Epix. I think it's a cable channel.
Yeah, Jim Norton's was on Epix.
Yes, Jim Norton's.
He came on to promote.
And I'm going to be on Friday, January 17th, 10
Friday,
p.m.
January 17th, Patton Oswalt, new special on Epix. I guess go to epix.com or just Google search Patton Oswalt Epix, and you can find it.
EPIX.
EPIX.
And there'll be a big old rollout.
We're coming to you live from EPIX, Patton Oswalt. So usually we do the podcast from my garage, and then sometimes, every once in a while, we do it from my office, from my radio show upstairs, but we had mechanical difficulties. Vito Violante, the werewolf back here, lending us his studio, so it literally feels like we're doing the Z Morning Zoo in Ames, Iowa.
It does feel like we are part of. And you remember when you would do the Z Morning Zoo? It was one of 17 shows you had to do.
Yeah, in the one building.
That day in the one building, and you would go from room to room and promote your show that night. Jay Mohr is going to be at Flapples tonight.
Jay Mohr?
Yeah. Is your name Mohr? It's Emma. Oh, it's Mohr.
Mohr.
It's weird. So I'd like more cheese. Which, by the way, it's our Friday cheese giveaway. Nice segue. Thanks, Jay. Seventh caller gets 8 pounds of cheese from the local Food King. So make sure to call in. Eighth caller gets the cheese.
You guys.
Yeah. And then there's the hey.
The fourth mic lady.
Oh.
I believe Opie and Anthony call her the Hole.
The whole, yeah. Well, there's the person there that is they just shut down the fun.
Yeah.
They just have someone there that, Louis C.K. told a great story about being on the show and he's just trying to do jokes and do banter, and the radio hole just kept saying, he called it the radio hole because she would just say, I'm pretty sure your doctor would be able to fix your ankle. I don't know why that would be a problem. And he would, yes, you're right. I'm sorry I said that. Never mind. Sorry, I was trying to do a joke there, but I'll just stop.
I had tags.
Yeah.
From my ankle story. You should see a doctor about your ankle. They'll probably tape it up and send you on your way.
You're right. And
did you guys get Girl Scout cookies? I left the flyer in the kitchen. I like when you guys did the Comedians of Comedy, you guys were all losing your mind. There's two things. My wife and I, we've watched you probably 55 times.
Really?
Because she used to see you, when she was with Bobcat, she used to see you at Uncab all the time.
Oh, that's right.
And you were there, and you said when your TiVo thought you were gay.
TiVo thought I was gay.
She remembers the Patton Oswalt stories very well.
Oh.
And when you guys were talking about comics that will wear certain clothes on stage, and then their first just to get the first joke out of the way,
yes.
Like, what am I doing in this Hawaiian shirt?
That's Brian pointed that out. Brian Posehn was there are guys. Their whole first 5 minutes was, I can't. How did this get on? What is going on?
What did I blow Don Ho for? I know what you're thinking. That's the other big one. Anybody that hits the stage, if they're fat, I know what you're thinking. How did the bouncer get on stage?
Yeah.
None of us thought you were the bouncer.
I worked with a guy who he came on stage to the theme to the show, the Broadway show Hair, and he was a white dude with his hair just in this insane bushy thing, and then he would do 5 minutes on, can you believe this shit?
What's going on?
What is this? I'm going to kill that barber. But before the show, he needed an hour in the condo to do his hair up, and don't bother me, don't talk to me, I gotta. Yeah. So he's just trapped for 5 minutes of material. An hour of every one of his days is gone.
I like the suspension of disbelief to that comic, that his comedy IQ is so low that he blames a barber for hair being long. Yeah. Like, what's with this barber? Can you believe this? I asked him to give me a trim.
It's weird. He actually made it this weird white guy fro. I didn't know they could do that. I'm going to sue him.
Comedians of Comedy, when you Friday fart song, only because we were talking about the Z Morning Zoo shows, we always have to do Friday fart song, and I think you piped in that. Leah Remini is hot, Patton.
Yeah. Oh God. Well, I think Friday fart song was something that David Cross, I think he actually had to. He was on a radio show one morning, and they literally had a Friday fart song, and that's one of my go-tos for bad radio is a Friday fart song. But I think I'm do it as a joke. I think he had to actually experience and live that. So I don't even know.
And Cross is not a guy to just join in the chorus of the Friday fart song. He beats to his own drum.
No, and that guy has done. So it's weird how a guy like that has had some of the worst radio experiences ever.
Yeah,
nightmare radio experiences.
You talk about Colin Quinn told me on the podcast. He said his act has always been a bit of a dog whistle, and David Cross is another guy. It doesn't have the rhythm that like
No.
you or I have, and you have a bit of a dog whistle. Like what I like about your stand-up is it's really honest. Like when you just tell the audience, I fucking hate New York.
Yeah, I can't stand being here right now.
The knee-jerk reaction is like, what? But then you explain in great detail what happens to you in New York, and it's madness ensues.
Yeah.
You, first of all, thanks for coming on, because I know how busy you are, and we were talking about it. There's nothing worse than going, I'm so sorry, I'm so busy.
Which pisses people off.
But I thought you and I handled it like gentlemen.
Yes.
And I said, hey, I'd much rather be, and I would much rather be your friend than record our voices for a podcast. But being friends with you and recording our voices for a podcast, I win.
Yes, you do. You win. And America wins.
And Epics wins, because they're going to see a spike in the ratings.
They will see a spike. That's right, Epics.
Like, whoa, what happened?
Yeah.
After Monday, our pre-sales went through the roof.
We got the Mohr bounce. We got what's called the Mohr.
I like the Mohr pounce better.
The Mohr bounce?
Oh, I thought you said pounce.
Mohr pounce is even better. We got pounced by Mohr.
Pounce on it.
A little more. I like the Mohr.
The Mohr.
Yeah.
I bet you get that all the time.
Yeah, you get a lot of. So when you were growing up, people were like, "Hey, I want a little more." Huh? Did you get that a lot? Come on.
We're live with Bob Sugar in the studio. Bob Sugar's a fictional character, and that always takes the wind out of their sails. Like, what? That was all I had, man.
Well, there's an actress, Martha Plimpton, who just she had to do a massive radio tour for that. She's on the show Raising Hope, and she was writing about it on her Facebook, and she was rattling off all the just fake DJ names she was making up. We do that all the time, like Flappy and Labine, but one of the ones she made up was Oblivious Charles, which to me is the perfect morning, because there's always the guys that are trying to get the party going, and then there's the guy that is just as tired as you and has no energy and you can't get anything going with him.
Yeah.
So we got a guy here from you have a TV show. You're on TV, right, Jay?
Well, I used to be.
Used to be.
Now
okay.
I'm doing radio.
He's
like
on. So he has a radio show on TV. I think. Is it on TV?
No, radio's on the radio.
Okay, he's a comedian, and he'll be you're at a club, right?
I am at a club.
Okay, let's hear some of those jokes you'll do tonight.
I don't really tell jokes.
Just do some of your jokes.
I do stories mostly about like what happened in my life.
Let's hear a story right now.
A story right now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Like Little Red Riding Hood, or
I'm just gonna cut my mic off for a second.
Oblivious Charles puts his head. Oblivious Charles puts his face in his hands.
I'm done.
And then there's always the guy whose job it is to like actually eat vomit out of the garbage can. Like,
yes.
Here's Squeaky. Make Squeaky do it.
That's
Squeaky.
right.
You can, if you guys throw up in the trash can after you eat all those eggs, Squeaky will eat it, right, Squeaky? And Squeaky's like, sure.
That's
like he has no idea that there's other ways to succeed in radio than letting Hooters girls cane him.
There was a guy. I was in San Francisco. And I did a morning show, and they had a guy. Someone peed in a Brita filter, those the Brita filter, and he peed in it, and then let it go through, and then he drank it, and that was his thing. And he was a regular. Like they would think of horrible things for him to do.
Well, there goes that sponsor. Thanks a lot.
Sorry, Brita.
No pee.
Oh, pee.
I was really banking on that.
I didn't know that.
There's a big pee lobby right now that you don't know about.
I didn't know there was a whole big
huge. Yeah, there's a big pee lobby that you were not aware of. They're in Washington right now, holding yellow signs. That was the easy way out of that
Just
one.
blank yellow pieces of paper.
That's all you need.
Very esoteric.
What do you think Post-it notes are?
Very. Oh my God.
You didn't think of that? You're the brains of this organization. So the reason this got expedited, you need to do this first?
Nope.
If you do, we don't care. I cannot emphasize enough. This is very laid back, and if this isn't the easiest thing of your day, then I've completely failed.
My wife is getting a new phone, and she needs the Verizon passcodes and stuff like that, which I don't have on me in my head, so I don't know what to do right now. So
I always write them down someplace, and then I forget where I put them.
Exactly. Yeah, I have a feeling I did write them down, and they're missing.
Yeah.
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 Someone trying to hack my phone could easily find them. He could find where I hid them. I just can't.
Or just guess.
Or yeah, exactly.
I think I read somewhere I read the number one password in the world is the word password for most people's computers.
Smart.
You gotta get closer to that mic, sweetheart.
Oh, smart.
There you go. Patton Oswalt joining us.
I'm on so much Dayquil right now.
MOHR.
MOHR.
Live coming at you. A big thanks to that Steve Vai song taking us to break. We're back now with Patton Oswalt. Little Ford coming in the break.
Thanks a
lot.
What
expedited this appearance, though, Last Comic Standing got rebooted. I'm removed from all responsibilities.
How far removed have you been from it? How many seasons were you involved, and then you were removed?
The moment season 3, they took the comedians out of the house, and I said, "Well, now you're just doing evening at the Improv.
Right.
I don't want to host this." I thought what was important was to show comics, because I lived next door to Dave Rath for about 8 years.
Oh, I remember that.
Doug Benson, Brian Posehn, Todd Glass. Like, it was just a cacophony of laughter all the time, and I wanted to capture like what it's like when comics live together. So I wanted to be like the real world and comics and the thing, and the NBC has ideas like we can vote people off. So when the comics after season 3, when NBC said we're no longer going to have the comedians in the house, then I said, well, I don't want to host. I put my foot down, and they said, well, then we're going to look for another host, and I said, okay, and they got Tony Clark, and then they got Bill Bellamy.
Right. Yeah.
And now I think they just hired Wanda Sykes, who's great, as an executive producer, but I still don't know who's going to host. But you tweeted, it's a very funny tweet, by the way, to catch a predator is better for your career than being on Last Comic Standing if you're a comedian.
Well,
and I immediately tweeted back, I don't understand, but it seems almost entirely to put you in that category. I know you're not an alternative comic because you're very mainstream.
Right.
But the alternative comics seem to really loathe the concept, the execution, and the existence of Last Comic Standing, to which I asked you on Twitter, comics like Doug Benson, for example.
No, yeah.
On TV as Doug Benson, 8 minutes at a pop. What's the problem?
No, that wasn't my problem with the show. My problem actually was the idea that it's a show. It's once again, it's another one of these things that takes comedy and boils it down to, it all comes down to one shot. It all comes down to 5 minutes, and that makes your career. And I just thought that was that's just a really bad representation of how you actually eventually make it as a comedian. That it actually takes a very, very long time. And I don't like any art form reduced to to just a competition with points and numbers and stuff like that.
But I've never seen you tweet about Project Runway.
Because Project Runway and Top Chef are the two reality shows I actually like, and here's why. Because they are meritocracies. They are based on merit. Here is an actual skill. You've either made a dress that is wearable, you've eaten something, you've cooked something that is edible and tasty. But comedy is so comedy and eroticism, you can't argue them. I think I'm quoting Gene Siskel on this, but if it makes
Simmons.
Gene Simmons, God knows, but if something makes you laugh or something gives you a boner, then it has worked. And it made comedy, it narrowed it down, especially in the early seasons, to a very narrow focus as to what. Well, but also in the later seasons too. I thought I didn't like any of the seasons. I never.
None of this discussion will hurt my feelings.
Okay.
At any point, just so you know.
And I don't like American Idol for the same reason. They take these. They also try to do this myth, and I think this is a very dangerous myth. And I'll bring it back to Top Chef, which some early seasons of Top Chef I didn't like one aspect of them I thought was bad, which is sometimes talent just comes out of nowhere. Well, no, that's not true.
Right.
Because everyone who's ever won on American Idol has 10 years of experience as a professional singer. They're not stars, but they are session singers. They sing professionally. They're total stars. And so everyone who's ever really made it on Last Comic Standing either were total stone cold professionals, or they were somebody that was way too young but had just the right nugget of material to get them through, but then they weren't ready.
Right.
And it drives me crazy when young comedians who are full of all this promise, they get grabbed too early, and it kind of screws up their career. Where when I am so glad that my first pretty much 6 years of comedy were undocumented, unheralded. Nobody was watching me. I got to go through all my dumb phases. I got to work out all of my influences and become who I was.
Yeah.
But if Last Comic Standing had been around and I had been 19, I would have totally tried to get on it. And it would have frozen me in a very, I think, bad part of my career rather than leaving me alone and letting me be. Do you know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying. The flip side of the counterpoint I could take is it's up to the individual. And I think a bigger problem in comedy is that comics, like, you put in extraordinary hours. And I've said on the podcast for over 2 years, like, comics under the age of 36, they don't know what it's like to drive to Buffalo for like $100, realizing they're actually losing money.
Oh, God.
But if I could just make a name for myself there, next time I'll come back as the headliner. Now they're like, how much do I get? I'll stay in town. I'll hang out at the Improv. They don't know what it's like to dig and dig and dig and dig and dig.
Yeah.
So I think it's up to the individual. Like if you get a guy like John Heffron, for example, who won when it went to Comedy Central, I think. Like, John Heffron's a guy that is still putting in the work, and he's still constantly writing jokes. And then there were guys like Dat Fan, a season 1 winner, who, you summed it up perfectly, had the perfect 5 minutes for America to text, I like him the most. And I think the house element worked against Dat Fan because everybody bullied him. And everybody that was like thought, Rich Voss and Ralphie May were being creeps, voted for Dat Fan as like to get back at the other guys. But I think it's up to the individual. Like, I don't think when you're on Last Comic Standing and you're not ready, that ruins your career. If you go to Last Comic Standing and then you're still willing to put in the work, like Alonzo Bowden, no one writes more than Alonzo Bowden and John Heffron, and Ralphie always has hours and hours of material.
I agree with all that, and I think there were a lot of great comedians. Look, for everything I had, for all the problems I had with the show, it gave Doug Benson a lot of exposure. It gave Todd Glass, I thought, amazing exposure. Eddie Pepitone. It let people see what Todd Glass does and how he kind of screws with the form. But it also helps, I think, to calcify a form and a method of doing stand-up that I think ultimately hurts stand-up. And that's
5 minutes for all the marbles.
Yeah, it all comes down to it doesn't all. It never ever comes down to one. If it came down, if your career came down to it's one set, then I would have no career because my big audition for Conan O'Brien happened on Latino Comedy Night at the Laugh Factory. I'm not kidding. Laugh Factory. Carlos Mencia was the host, and look, God bless him. We all have problems with Carlos, but here's how he brought me on. All right, this next guy is a white guy. Give him a chance. Give him a chance. And it went, boo! They're immediately screaming at me. So that was it comes down to this 5 minutes. Well, then your 5 minutes are done.
Yeah.
Then I should be. But no, you just keep going. Now, you could. I'm going to make an argument on yours for you actually. Now that I'm running my mouth and I'm realizing
we'll switch sides.
No, but
I'll be anti-Last Comic Standing.
Maybe being on Last Comic Standing and being on too early or being exposed in the wrong, getting over that makes someone a better comedian down the road.
Right.
Maybe that's part of it. Maybe Last Comic Standing is just a mega version of the one-nighter that you drive to in Buffalo and you realize you're actually losing money,
Yeah.
Like a lot of those guys to do Last Comic Standing, they couldn't go do road gigs and they maybe lost some money.
In the short run, yeah, but I think in the long run,
the exposure certainly helped.
Yeah, and I also think you're right in that it never comes down to one set, one moment. No. It's not a rap battle.
It drives me crazy.
And I've always said when people going back to the Z Morning Zoo radio shows, when they say what was your big break, and I always say, I don't say it on the air because I don't want to sound like a jerk, but I'll say it to you, if you have one break, then life is horrible. If you really, anybody listening to this, if you really look back in your life, you've had about 26 breaks.
At least, like that many things went right along the way.
And they were all dressed up as hard work.
Mm-hmm.
To paraphrase whoever had that quote, opportunity knocks and it's dressed up as hard work. But, so it never comes down to one thing.
And also, a lot of those breaks were Trojan horsing huge disasters. You just didn't see them. You're like, yes. Here we go. Yeah. Oh, my God, why did I say yes to that?
Yes.
And then something that you did almost as, again, I always use the example of Mark Maron, who had all these big moments, and then the thing that he just went, I'm just going out to my fucking garage and talking. And that was...
Yeah, that launched
that blew it all open. So you just never know.
I understand completely, and I do get, and I forget who I just had this conversation with it was Eddie Ift. He goes, bringing comedy down to a competition 5 minutes apiece. It's just not fair. And I can speak from experience, and you and I have both been headlining for a very long time. Mm-hmm. You and I are the reason that people are in a theater.
I know.
There's 1,200 people just to see you or just to see me. And if we had to battle Dat Fan for 5 minutes, we'd get blown off the stage.
Oh, my God. I
don't have 5 minutes.
No.
I don't have a 5 minute thing that I say.
And by the way, that is... in a very sick way. One aspect of Last Comic Standing, which is you go in front of three random judges, and they decide the next step of your career. In a very sick way, that is a very accurate depiction of how show business works.
If you ever pitch a TV show
or audition for something, you've driven out to Venice and you're full of Dayquil, and someone that you're auditioning for is getting angry texts from a teacher at their school. So everything's going against you, and that is deciding.
It all comes down to one audition.
It all comes down.
So sometimes it does come down to that 5 minutes, especially on an audition. You don't get more than 5 minutes in a room. When you did Biggest Fan, was that an offer, or did you have to go in and earn it?
That, thank God, was an offer, because
you were great in that movie.
If I had to audition for that based on who else wanted it, there were some other people who really wanted it, and if I had to go up against them, there's no way in hell I would have gotten it. But for some reason, I still don't know why, and I owe him forever. Robert Siegel was like, I want this guy.
It was
despite
great.
these other people that wanted it, they could have made it.
And talk about other people. I auditioned for the Charlize Theron movie, Young Adults.
You did?
Yeah, to be the guy that she's trying to win back.
No kidding.
And then I liked the script so much. Is it called Young Adult?
Young Adult.
Young Adult. And I liked the script so much that I told the director, I said, I'll be the guy in the wheelchair that just screams in the bar. Like, he has 3 lines and just goes, yeah!
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Like the super aggressive wheelchair guy.
Yeah.
I can do anything, man. He's doing, I'll do anything in this movie because I love this script so much. And it didn't work out. But I know when I went in, they were like, Charlize Theron, Philip Seymour Hoffman, we're all ready to go. And then when the movie came out, it was you. And I remember watching the movie, and it was, I think, way better because you gave it a lot more heart. And it was like you were a real guy. And when you guys finally laid on top of each other, and you were like mortified, and she was
leg and
that little crippled
I didn't
leg.
see that coming. I did not know they. I mean, they did a cast in my leg, but they do it with this blue gel, and they put dots on it so they can animate it. So I wasn't expecting that when I saw the first screening of it. It just
so when you did the scene, they didn't tell you you're going to have like a little tiny mangled leg.
They told me the leg would be messed up, but they drew these huge dots on my leg.
Yeah,
that would be used for.
It was like a baby leg.
People. Yeah, it was all.
Sounds funny to say that. Just say baby leg.
Baby leg.
Enjoy it.
Baby leg.
That's my CB handle. This is baby leg.
This is baby leg. I got a double reefer over top of hauling hogs.
Let's wipe the bugs off our plates and took the Jake to a double nickel. Got the eyeball, the beach ball, bucket funny bunny with Patton and baby leg.
But going back to Top Chef, I did some event in Brooklyn, and I talked to Tom Colicchio was there, he talked to me. He had no reason to talk to me, and I was like, hey, I love Top Chef. He goes, and he talked to me for like an hour about it. And he said the one thing he hated about the early seasons of Top Chef, and they've gotten rid of that now. And the reason he hated it was because it was unfair to people viewing and to young chefs coming up is in the early seasons, they wanted a mix of this guy trained at the Boku's door, and she's a caterer from Long Island. It's anybody's game on Top Chef. He's like, no, it's not anybody's game. That's unfair. The caterer from Long Island cooks amazing food, I'm sure, and could become a great chef someday. But a guy with that level of training against her, she's going to end up being crushed.
Yeah, because she has to put out 40 Cornish game hens.
Exactly, and it's going to mess. It's
for
a
ladies' golf luncheon.
Yeah, exactly, and it's going to scare a lot of people off from becoming chefs because people do. Or a guy who is right now a line cook at like Le Hall is going up against the sous chef at Providence.
That's fair.
Well, actually, that isn't fair either because the sous chef has had to plan menus and knows how to improvise, and this person just does recipes. So he's like, just have it be professionals. Have it be people.
Well, that was a big blowback on Last Comic Standing was people were saying like, well, that guy's been on Comedy Central before, and I remember pre-Twitter when people would email you on like your website and saying this is baloney. No one ever said this is an amateur comedy competition.
Right.
And if Alonzo Bowden has been doing comedy for 18 years and he's been on Comedy Central and had a special, that's no one ever said this is an amateur comedy competition.
Right. Although it would be interesting if it was more curated, like not to toot my own horn, but one of the reasons I did Comedians of Comedy was not only to get myself more exposure, but I'm a huge fan of comedy, and I get as frustrated as I get with my career, I get frustrated when I see people who I think are brilliant and are not being showcased correctly.
Yeah.
And at the time, I just thought that Zach and Maria and Brian were so brilliant and original, and Brian was kind of being
Maria
pigeonholed,
Bamford
I thought.
and Brian Posehn.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Brian Posehn, Maria Bamford, Zach Galifianakis. And
Zach who now?
I hope I'm saying this right. Zach Galifianakis.
I've heard of Seth. I don't know Zach.
Okay, yeah. Zach's, he should check. He's on YouTube. He's really funny.
All right.
He's got a couple of videos up. But I just was so frustrated with these people are so brilliant. Why aren't they being looked at not that I'm the reason those guys broke. They broke on their own, but I was just, if I can do anything to have people look at them more. And Maria, just now has this insane cult following of, she's just so beloved. But at the time, she would do these shows, and people, then not only would they heckle her, like a woman, she talks about in the special, that woman got up, it's like, I'm so sick of your voices. Is everyone else here just sick of this? And the whole crowd got up and walked out. It was because she was so original, so I wanted to keep them away from shows like Last Comic. No offense, but because those would not be the right showcase for them.
That's correct. And again, talk about comics who's a dog whistle.
Oh,
like Maria Bamford is so brilliant at times. She's one of those people. I have no idea what a regular voice is like. Even when she's talking regularly to you off camera, I don't know if she's putting you on.
Yeah.
It's like Kaufman-esque. Like she goes down this rabbit hole of voices that even when she comes up for air, you're like, is this the real Maria Bamford voice? Or maybe she doesn't know anymore.
All I know is that near the end of the tour, when we have guests come on and our friends, whoever city we're in. So we're Howard Kramer, Doug Benson, Brian Posehn, me, Maria, Zach. We're at the Independent in SF, and so I go up and start up, and Doug and Brian and Howard and Zach are back smoking weed in back of the club, having a little pot break, and then Maria goes on, and I went back and went, hey, Maria's on, and then it'll be Doug, and when they heard Maria's on, they all stopped smoking weed and ran out to watch her. I was like, that's the sign of a great comedian, when the comedians who go smoke weed are like, I'll smoke this later, I want to go watch what she does.
Yeah.
And they all ran out to watch her. It's like, okay, good, this is... Because
I remember if you were from high school, we thought you were some kind of lesbo or something.
That whole story, and that whole story, Brian and I kept saying that must be an actual person. That is so specific. She goes, no, I just made it all up.
Really?
But
I thought they were all real people.
But it's based on the people that she knew growing up. But she creates new characters that sound even realer than the real people she had to deal with. Like the boss lady giving the tour of the office, and it's all kind of crazy here.
We do things differently here.
We do things a little different here.
See you at the quickening.
And she said she based that on at least 50 orientations she had to go through as a temp.
And it's an incredible bit, and she's the only one that does it to that rhythm. Like, I think any comic would have done really, and then done set up punchline.
Yeah,
what's different? On Tuesdays we wear hats, the exasperated, what's different about it? And well, how come it's not? And then she just actually goes into rip in the space-time continuum, and
she's the one comedian that I say that she never has to worry about being stolen from, because you cannot make that stuff work.
You can't do it.
And her stuff is so brilliant, and anyone else trying to do it, they could not deliver that.
So I appreciate this conversation about Last Comic Standing, and it's a very viable argument that you have, that it comes down to 5 minutes, and someone is a discernible loser.
Yeah.
And that's not fair to a comic.
Well, it's not only is it not fair to a comic, it's not fair to what we do, because it is not what we do, because part of what we do is going up and failing along the way, and that should be embraced and celebrated. Not gone whoa, boy, you fucked up. That's it. You're done. I've had just as much fun, and I'm sure you did too, at open mics. Those nights when you come off and like, wow, I completely fucking flamed out. It was exhilarating, and it was exhilarating to go through that and then go, I don't think I'm going to be as scared tomorrow night, because it can't be any worse than what. It's this weird freedom of, hey, and again, on a meta-textual level, maybe flaming out on national TV gives people even bigger courage. Maybe, for all we know, Last Comic Standing is going to create a generation of even more fearless comics. I don't know, but I don't like it cut and edited down to that idea.
Do you think the guys that are I don't know if they're flaming out when they get to that, when it comes down to the final 10?
Well, the final 10, just like on American Idol, that's a different thing. I just don't like the initial, and I really didn't like the beginning when they aped that American Idol horrible model of let's put the freaks out here and make fun of them. The people that have no business being up here. Well, then,
but let me ask you this:
don't film them. Don't you give them
then
some dignity.
why is a guy in a banana suit standing in line on Melrose Boulevard for 8 hours? If you're not gonna, if you were the executive producer of the show, aren't you going to say you got to get the guy? There's a guy in a banana suit outside.
I know. Yes,
I'm asking you honestly.
No. Honestly, if I was
you own 25% of Last Comic Standing. You're the executive producer. There's a guy in a banana suit 3 blocks away in a 4-block line.
I would try to film him and talk to him as a human being and not do what they do on American Idol, which is they just have him walk out cold and go, "Whoa, look at this!"
Like
freak.
William Hung, she banged.
Yeah,
she banged.
sit down and talk to him and get his story and go.
Okay, Bob and
he's
Ross were real nice. They're nice guys at
No,
NBC.
they are nice.
And the guy in the banana suit, in all fairness, how often has that guy ever been on television? The one time, and right when he said, "You might be wondering why I'm dressed as a banana," and Ross goes, "That's enough, we've seen enough," and Bob goes, "He was just going to tell us why he's in the banana suit." That was the whole payoff, and you cut him off.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not entertained by other people's desperation.
I'm not either.
And being lost. I'm not entertained by the lost and the broken. It just, after a while, unless they're being treated as humans and not, like the circus geek, the guy that they give a bottle of gin to every day so that he'll bite the heads off chickens. I'd actually like to sober him up and how did you get to be, what happened to you? Why are you down here? Rather than just watch the geek show. Like maybe
I think
help
you and I
him.
should pitch this show.
What, the circus?
I'm not kidding.
The real circus geeks
or
of Beverly
like
Hills?
the people that do those. I think that's already up and running on Bravo. But the actual stuntman crazy people, sideshow people, like the sad people, like the guy that dresses up as Darth Vader on Hollywood Boulevard, as my friend Clodagh, she's got a great expression that her mom used to say. They're from Ireland. She goes, "Who's he when he's at home?"
That is true though.
Oh, look at him. Who's he when he's at home? Like who is the guy that dresses up as SpongeBob when he gets home? Like what happens in that apartment?
Like what was 9/11 like for him, the SpongeBob guy? And I'm not saying to be funny. What happened that morning when he saw the planes hit the buildings? Was he? Do I put the costume on? Do I go out? What do I do?
I think he probably put the costume on.
Went out,
but I don't think he made as much money.
Yeah, I need to go comfort people.
But yeah, I do think that's that's a show I would watch too. And I don't know if anybody's really given it a run because. Networks, it's a lot like socialism. In theory, it's great, but socialism fails eventually because human beings are involved.
Yeah, I know.
And eventually you have a network executive going, that guy's such a freak. Make sure you get... Okay, let me tell you how...
Well, that's okay. Long before I met her and before he was ever the Bachelor, my wife briefly dated the very first guy that was on The Bachelor. Way before he was ever The Bachelor. And then The Bachelor... then years later, they're still friends, and he in The Bachelor, and he was telling her that the producers would, after every show, sit down and go, "Okay, I know you're not going to hook up with these 2 girls, but they're insane, and we got to keep them around here because it's great TV, and it's keep the damaged, broken people here for our entertainment." And that's
I can speak from experience. That definitely never happened on Last Comic Standing.
Are you really? You weren't keeping the freaks around just
the audition process.
Mm-hmm.
I'm completely not involved with, and when those people line up, they go up and they audition for all different people, and then what the biggest quote unquote what people think was controversy was when it was Drew Carey, Brett Butler, and I forget who
Dan
the third
Natterman
person
got
was.
screwed over.
But people don't understand. I had Dan I don't vote. Barry Katz is not allowed to vote because he's a man. That's the other thing is they go, Barry Katz rigs it for his clients. Well, then Burt Kreischer would have won. Gary Goldman would have won. There would have been a whole bunch of people that were his clients that would have won. They would have just been pushed through. But I had my 10 people on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And I compare notes with the network executives.
Right.
And I had 2 girls and 8 guys. And when I handed in my note, it was Lorne Michaels-esque and Jim Downey-esque, where they looked at my note and just pushed it right back and said, "You got to have 3 girls." And I said, "Well, 3 girls didn't earn it. There's not." And they go, "Well, female demographic in the audience, you have to have 3 women in the house. So someone has to come off the list." Now, I made one underline on my list, and that was Jay London. And I said, if Jay London is not on this list of the 10, I'm not going out to announce who the winner is. Because he got a standing ovation.
Yeah.
He is a Neanderthal. He drives a cab in Queens. And this is a life-changing thing for him.
And also, more than anyone on that show that first season, he truly loves stand-up.
Yeah.
He absolutely loves doing stand-up, and he actually is joyful doing it. He's
And he
not
earned it.
Yeah,
And I was like, out of all the, like, Gary Goldman's going to be fine.
right.
And everyone else, you know, those guys are going to be okay. But Jay London got a standing ovation at the Paris Des Arts Theater at the
Right.
Paris Hotel and Casino. And I remember I underlined his name, and I was like, I don't know if this is my place, but I got to tell the powers that be, if his name's not on the 10, I'm not walking back out on stage. Because
Right.
that was my quote-unquote
Right.
justice.
Right, yeah.
That was why I was the executive producer, to make sure
Yeah.
this guy didn't get jobbed. But when I handed my list of 10, I got to take somebody off. Everybody's got to take off a guy because the network, honchos, plural, say you must have 3 women. And then the immediate battle cry back is, but 3 women didn't earn their way into the house. It's not up for debate. Someone's got to
right.
come off. Natterman was that guy. And then Drew Carey and Brett Butler, who were not backstage in this process.
Didn't see that.
They just think you completely ignored our notes. They should have been backstage in the process. And then people watching, and comics especially, go, well, this is fixed, this is fixed. You can't, I cannot emphasize this enough for the listener. You can't fix an audition. It's an
Right.
audition to get into the house, to enter the competition.
Right.
You are auditioning to be on Last Comic Standing at that point. Once they're in the house, Patton Oswalt, we had to videotape and film the coin toss to see who went on first 3 separate ways because of the quiz show scandals. They had it airtight. You couldn't possibly cheat. You couldn't
Right.
rig it whatsoever.
Oh, I'm
and
not-
people text and phone call, and guess what? Dat fan,
Right.
people texted their eyes out to get this guy ahead of Ralphie May.
I'm not saying that the competition itself was rigged. I just object to its existence, to the format. That is what drove me crazy. And what you went through backstage is that drives me crazy. Where it's no matter the quality, you have to have, you know, this
Where's your-
demographic
where's your-
of
you need
white,
2 black
black,
guys.
male, female. Yeah,
Need
and
2
that,
black guys. Oh, that was the other thing. Need 2 black guys.
that you know that's the same kind of
2
thinking.
black guys, 3 women. Hold on, think.
All right.
So 2 black guys, 3 women. Now we have 5 comics in a quota system, and now we're giving it to 5 comics that have earned it
You're
instead of
right.
10 comics that have earned it. We've been cut in half. And if
Drives me crazy.
If I ran a network, and that was my marching orders from the person in the desk right above mine, that's what I would do too. But this is great. This is so much. You can't explain this in a tweet.
No, you know, yeah, exactly.
When people
no.
go like, "It's fixed." Why do you guys talk about how all Barry Katz's clients, they all got development deals and this
Right,
and
right.
that, and they didn't let Barry anywhere near it. Barry could ruin toast. Barry's a card carrying moron. I don't want him in the room. I mean, he's a nice guy. He's been my manager forever, but for crying out loud, he's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
last guy you want.
Don't-
I
yeah.
really think that guy had something undeniable. That's the thing about Patton, man. Once he was Ratatouille, it was game over, man.
What? Oh boy. But look,
I've just made all that up.
Yeah,
as
no,
Barry.
but boy, that sounded accurate. Oh my god.
Oh, I thought you were saying what? Like Barry said that about me?
Game over. No, that just sounds
Game over, man. Patton's one of those guys. He's
But
undeniable.
that same quota system led to that all the stupidity in the '80s of can't have 3 women on a comedy show. Got it because it's like no, if they're really fucking funny, trust me. After 5, no one gives a shit. It's as long as the acts are great. You know, or you can't have like 3 black guys and then you're gonna have an all black crowd. I don't give a shit. I want
a crowd.
I just want the 3 funniest. Well, as an audience, they're like, I just love how they would speak for the audience. Even when, and trust me, the audience wants the 3 funniest people you can get. They don't give a shit.
I also like the idea that if you have 3 black comics on a flyer, suddenly the black community comes out of the
Yeah.
woodwork like, woo, like, wow, now they're going to come out of it. It's going to be filled with black people. We can't have that.
Yeah.
Like, God forbid you fill your room with people of color
Yeah.
that are card carrying, members of the audience.
Yeah, but they also think that the average white person will go 3 black people. There's nothing there for me to listen to. Well, no, it's why don't you cultivate crowds that just like comedy?
Yeah, we're all
and want to
listening
go
to
to a
Marvin
comedy club.
Gaye
I don't
and
give.
Al
Yeah,
Green.
I don't give a shit. I would rather watch. If there was a show that had Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock, and then they were going to have like Tony Woods or Wanda
Hey,
Sykes there,
man.
I wouldn't be. Yeah, I wouldn't be in there going, God, I don't even care if he's not funny. I just wish there was a white guy here. for me to look at. I
Not
don't,
fair.
Yeah, Chappelle's amazing and Chris Rock is amazing, but god damn it.
See what happens
Why
when
isn't there
Obama's
just-
president?
Yeah.
All black comedy shows.
Don't
We're never going to get on a mic
I
again.
just don't care about that. And it
Coming
drives me
back
crazy.
in 60 seconds.
Oh.
We're sponsored. Listen to this, but don't go anywhere.
who's
60
sponsoring you?
seconds with Patton Oswalt.
Software analytics. Your business depends on software, all your apps, your databases, your social media, everything. So the last thing you need is a problem with it. New Relic Software Analytics gives you powerful, real-time insights into your software so you can spot problems and fix them before they become big problems. Check it out free for 30 days. Go to newrelic.com/radio. That's NEWRELIC.com/radio. newrelic.com/radio.
During the break, Patton had to step out and reset his entire password to his home security system. What happened?
What my wife is getting a new phone, but both phones are on my account. So she's at the Apple Store, but they need to do they need the code. So I can't remember the code, so I had to call into Verizon and have him change the code, and then call my wife.
Did they ask you like mother's maiden name?
We went through all that, yeah. And what is your favorite pet's name? Okay, and we went through all these different. I had like 3 security questions on it. I got them all right.
Thank goodness.
That's the other thing. What if I get one of those wrong? You know,
I hope it's not mother's maiden name. Favorite pet, because that vacillates. You know,
that could be a little, depending on who pooped on the rug this week.
it is amazing when you call like customer service. They're always in North Jersey or Toronto or Charlotte. Those are the 3 places I found whenever.
Oh,
I've
are
called.
they?
Yeah, because I always go just out of curiosity. Where are you? I'm in northern New Jersey, but I'm not allowed to tell you the
I've
town.
never thought to do that.
Well, now you will, right?
Well, aren't a lot of them in prisons?
What?
I'm kidding. Aren't a lot of there was a there's a Michael Mohr documentary about a lot of the booking agents for airlines are prisoners. They use prison labor and they work a switchboard and they book people's flights.
What? That's got to be the saddest job in prison.
Well,
if you think about
the guy
it.
is sitting there. The guy they talked to is exactly what you're saying. He's got sleeve tattoos. He's like, I'm sending these assholes to Aruba and off to go to Paris. I'm gonna go back to my goddamn cell, man. I hope those fucking planes crash. Like, he's just the angriest. So maybe a multiple rapist just booked your Paris honeymoon.
And what better person?
Really? I mean, that's
Who
the guy.
knows more about Paris? Who knows more about love, really, than a guy that knows so much about it? He needs to express it with his fists.
He knows all the wrong ways.
Yeah.
Now you get to do it right.
Yeah, you get to right his wrongs.
That's so awful.
Have you ever played a prison?
No, and although I am on Thursday, the 11th of December, I am doing the private LAPD robbery homicide Christmas party.
Yes.
Which I did last year, and it was a fucking blast. Because you go up, do like half an hour, and then you drink with these guys, and they get wasted, and they tell you shit that you cannot.
And they just keep giving you like those little. Did you ever get one of those tiny badges to hang in your car?
I haven't got one of those yet. I actually kind of
just ask them. Just ask someone straight up, like, "Can I get one of those badges for my wallet?" It's like a little tiny. It's like a thumbnail-sized badge. It means like your brother's a cop.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I want one of those.
Hasn't gotten me out of anything.
Yeah. Okay. Hasn't your brother's a cop?
No, but somebody gave me one.
Oh, really?
And when I've been pulled over, they go, "Where'd you get the badge?" I go, "My brother," and I gotta go Midtown North.
They asked
Detective.
my size for a robbery homicide jacket, like one of their special teams jackets. So
Patton Oswalt,
very
robbery
excited.
homicide. Man.
Well, my wife is a true crime writer, so I do it for my own.
Wait, so your wife
amusement.
was on The Bachelor season 1?
No.
Well, she dated The Bachelor before he was The Bachelor.
Way before he was ever The Bachelor. This
Okay.
was like, he was a totally successful, like, Harvard-educated, brilliant, like, with money and stuff like that.
so
And
your
then
wife
gets
was never
this
on The
opportunity.
Bachelor.
No, God,
And she's a true crime writer.
She writes about cold cases and is writing a book right now for HarperCollins, but it's like that is her Christmas, going to the robbery homicide party, because talking to all these guys, and they, she knows stuff that they don't know because she investigates stuff with the internet. And cops, most police forces, they just don't embrace the internet yet. So she goes, this guy posted, the guy you're looking for, he has a Tumblr account and is writing about something like that.
Sweetheart,
What?
I don't want to get your panties in a bunch, but here we go by our guts.
No, it
all right?
literally is like that. Like, we go knock on doors, and the crime she's investigating now, she has all these police files from the 70s, and she gets to read how they would do crime. And it was literally there are persons of interest and knocked on door, subject not home, and that's where the trail ends.
That's where it ends.
We knocked on his door. What else are we supposed to do?
I don't care
What am I,
about you.
Kreskin? How do I find him?
Yeah, I don't care about your face space. We got something here called a hunch.
Right,
lady.
That's real cute. You got your little laptop, and I bet you got a little Hello Kitty sticker on it. And
That's real nice.
And you post your kitten photos, and that's fine. But honey, there's just
I got a gut, and it's telling me you're barking up the wrong tree.
The part of my gut that's not filled with doers is telling me that this guy. But these guys, like the stories they have of how they track these dudes down, are just, they're amazing. It's
amazing.
A fascinating
like now,
world.
Everyone, the personal rights that we give up because of all the security cameras, but like the amount of crimes that are solved just because there's a camera in a parking lot and you see somebody getting in a car from 500 feet away and that guy gets arrested. Do you think that's a fair trade-off?
Well, it depends. I mean, again,
assuming they're not watching you masturbate.
I'm torn because the idea of a surveillance state is a little creepy to me, but at the same time, part of me, the bad part of me says, wait a minute, I don't do any weird stuff, so I don't care. Like, film the weirdos. It's like there's part of you, it's like the Chris Rock thing of the people that are worried about the bullets the cops using, the people that are probably going to get shot for doing something wrong. Like, those are the people that are making all the noise. But and by the way, I also love how everyone's squawking about losing their privacy, and yet we're the most exhibitionist, show everything about ourselves online. If Big Brother from 1984 existed today, he would get on, instead of the 2-minute hate, he would come out and go, I don't need to see pictures of everyone's ball sacks, okay, please.
Yeah.
If you could just, the camera that we put in your apartment, that's all we need.
Yeah.
Don't send in any extras.
I don't need pictures of your food.
Yeah, stop filming your buttholes and your ball sacks and your food and your fucking cats. I don't give a shit. You know what? I'm shutting on the camera. I can't take this. You people are animals. You
overload.
are fucking animals. I hate all of you. Like, he would not want to be looking at that. So
He appalled at everybody's selfies.
But
this is me in a field.
What's really weird is for all of the, there's so much more surveillance, so much more technology. Yes, but the people doing the surveilling have not caught up with what a 13-year-old can do with their camera and their Facebook and and chat roulette. A 13-year-old is actually more wired in as to what cameras to look at than most cops, because cops are like, I don't need to go in the gun. I go out and I interview subjects. That's what There's a generation that sort of needs to die off, and the hacker generation needs to come up as cops. They just don't believe in it.
Yeah. Well, is it pride? Is it like they just don't want to give in to the fact that there's something better than their gut and their hunch?
No, I mean, look, it takes...
Why don't you like cops?
It takes... I fucking love cops. I don't know what... Anyone who says that they hate cops are people that are trying to act like they're badasses. Like, man, I fucking hate cops. Trust me, the minute...
Matty boy says
the minute someone stole your iPod, you go crying to the cops. Don't tell me what a badass rebel you are. Sorry, Maddie. But all that hunch stuff, that still took a decade of hardcore training to learn. And now they're being asked to learn an entirely new world. They're like, I don't have enough time. I'm
Look,
not gonna...
the reason I didn't get what's the program to write a script on your computer?
Final Draft.
The reason I didn't get Final Draft is because it's like anything computer. It's like learning a new language. I'm 43 years old, and I'm like, I'm not going to learn. I'll just write it out longhand.
Yeah,
I don't know what I'm doing.
Type it up
and it
for me.
scares me.
Yeah.
Like, literally. And people go like, have you tried this? Like, Facebook, I go, hey, did you tag? Like, one question. Do you want to be tagged? And I go, I don't know what that means. Never went back to Facebook again. I got freaked out.
I mean, my wife has a website called True Crime Diary, and she has literally put together crimes using MapQuest and people's Facebook pages, because she'll look at where the crimes are done. You go on, put the addresses in on MapQuest and go, oh, well, these were all near freeway entrances, so the person who did it clearly lives in town, and let me look at any similar crimes that happened a month or a year before. In other words, if there's a horrible kidnapping or horrible killing, one thing you do is...
As opposed to...
A great kidnapping.
Jovial.
Or a fun killing. Why did I just put horrible? That was such an unnecessary adjective! But you look a
Feel
year...
good murder of the summer.
Yeah, you look... that one killing was good. Come on, that felt pretty good.
And just the landing that he stuck.
No, when I mean horrible, I mean they
I know
really...
what you mean, yes.
But you look a few years back at botched versions of that crime because people very rarely do that stuff just out of the blue. They work up to it.
Yeah.
So a lot of times with kidnappings, you'll look at, well, there was an attempted abduction or there was a approach made and the guy fled because it takes a while for them to get their nerve up, so you can track them that way. But that's all using, looking at different, and these guys, they just, the San Francisco Police Department didn't get the internet till a few years ago, and they had like one computer terminal.
Gavin Newsom didn't shove it down their throat?
No.
You think Gavin Newsom be all over that?
No, he didn't do it.
Talk about ball sack photos. I said that as Colin.
You have more detecting ability in your iPhone than most crime labs.
And more than the Apollo astronauts had.
Oh,
in the entire spaceship.
Those guys landed on the moon basically using an Atari 2600.
Unbelievable.
That's how they landed on the moon. That's the computing power they had.
And little known fact, Buzz Aldrin loved to play Pitfall.
Oh,
right on the landing.
He knew how to jump over the scorpions backwards that's how amazing he was.
Oh, do you know this? When I did From the Earth to the Moon, I got to hang out with astronauts. And first of all, you're talking to guys that have been in outer space.
Yeah.
When they got to the moon, everything is so flight recorded and practiced ad nauseum.
Right,
so
right.
Nothing could possibly go wrong. And right when they landed on the moon, there's I think it's 14 seconds of radio silence where everybody in Houston got really scared.
Mm-hmm.
It's because right when they landed, Neil Armstrong was the flight commander. They worked out every single detail of the mission. But when they landed, Buzz Aldrin said, "So who's going out first?" He waited the entire mission. It was assumed because Neil Armstrong was the flight commander that he would go out first, but they never put it in the manual who actually leaves the capsule first. So for 14 seconds, they're like, and Houston kind of freaked out a little bit, like, Houston over, Houston over. And then Buzz Aldrin used to show up at the Improv.
Wait, what?
Oh, Buzz Aldrin was always at the Melrose Improv.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was like Bud Friedman. As soon as you walk in, he's like, Buzz Aldrin's here. Why don't you say hello? He's got a new show with Betty White, Buzz and Betty. Clear the hallway. Has your wife ever gotten any reward money for solving these crimes?
No, she puts them together. She's not doing it for the. She likes to solve the puzzles, and also a lot of times.
But don't you want a second car?
But there's trust me, the book sale was.
Attaboy.
But she, a lot of these are cold cases. There's no reward. They've been dead for 10, 20 years, and
the people or the cases.
That's the cases, and sometimes the people, sometimes people involved, and that's. The weird way that we're at this intersection where everything is changing over in such a gigantic way. I don't think this happened since the switch over from agrarian to industrial at the turn of the century, where there are some people that are going to be fine with it, and other people are just going to you're going to be left behind.
Do you think? Go ahead.
No, it's that thing of, and I know that in about 10 or 20 years there'll be some technology that's going to come along that I will finally hit the wall where I'll be like, I'm not jumping on board with this.
Yeah, I'm not doing Google Plus.
Yeah, I'm.
You got invited on LinkedIn. I'm like, first of all, how did you get my email address? Second of all, I've never heard of the person inviting me to LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Third of all, I don't know what LinkedIn is.
If you were to use
chain LinkedIn fence,
I use Twitter because Twitter's great. It's so easy, and I like Facebook because I have a private account under a fake name for just me and my friends.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, the shit we write about you, Jay. And then, but I realized if I were to do all of these platforms, Tumblr, Instagram, that would be a second career to maintain all of those.
I tapped out of Instagram because I realized it's all pictures of my family, and I realized, well, that's private.
Yeah, I don't want people looking at that.
I have a 2-year-old. I don't want anybody to leave a negative comment about my 2-year-old.
I got invited to the Winnie the Pooh premiere, and my daughter at the time was 2, and so she goes, I want to go see Winnie the Pooh. And they had the whole Disney lot made up to look like the forest, Christopher Robin's forest. Wow. And they said, well, you enter in through there. Like there's the big entrance. So I had her under my arm, and they didn't tell me that was the camera line. So now there's all these pictures online of me. And I didn't want to be like on camera, like screaming at people, but I don't want them taking pictures.
You could have also walked backwards.
It was too, like I had already, the way, I swear to God, they had done it. It looked like this little woodsy opening. So you go through and then you don't realize what's on the other side. Then you go through and now you're stuck and there's people behind you. Could you please, we are
all through the looking glass, people.
All these other celebrities are moving along with their kids. Like, let's all just, and they all want to get out of the way too. Like, I don't want to, but there are pictures of me with my daughter and I have the tensest smile on my face. Like, I'm going to murder somebody. How
And
dare.
then your wife would have to crack that case.
And then she'd have to, I would have killed someone.
Would you be able to hide a murder from your wife?
There's no. When I see now what these online sleuths can do, just fuck all that DNA CSI stuff, which is all bullshit anyway. If you go to an actual police crime lab, the CSI crime lab looks like it looks like the sports book at in Vegas with all those liquid screens on the TVs. The actual sports lab, the actual
Marshall
crime lab,
Thundering Herd -5 on the rape.
It's crazy, but crime labs at police, it's like a closet. And then if you ever watch there's that great scene in The Wire where he's like, hey, can you run this blood sample for me? Because it's really crucial. He goes, yeah, do you have $500? Like, we send it out. I don't have, you kidding? I got to pay for this shit, dude.
Yeah, and it takes like 3 months.
Yeah.
On the TV show, it's the commercial break.
Yeah. Can you, or as they say, can you enhance that? Can you enhance that? Enhance it?
Oh, that's it. Yeah, I like when they do the facial recognition software in 1 second. A guy walks across the street in Altadena, and they're like, oh, that's Patton Oswalt.
Yeah.
From the helicopter in space.
The CSI stuff doesn't scare me, but the online digital stuff, you have left an electronic trail whether you know it or not.
Oh, I'm sure I know
it. Find you.
Well, I won't do anything wrong.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm a happily married man, Mr. Garrison. Do you, how much, when you talk about the changing over to the Industrial Revolution, I think comedy now, when I watch like Comedy Central specials, those half hours,
yeah,
I think those are more disruptive. You want to talk about people getting a half hour.
Yes,
and
I absolutely agree.
For the listener, if the person's name is behind them in the special, they probably shouldn't have a special.
Right.
If the curtain says, Michael McGillicuddy in a cool fashion and a font, then you should know as soon as they walk on stage. It should, I think, and I'm not saying these guys shouldn't do their specials, but if you're going to do a special, I think it should be appointment viewing. If I go to Epics and I watch Patton Oswalt, which I will, it's because I love watching Patton Oswalt do stand-up comedy. It's never like, who's this guy? I don't know. What's it say on the backdrop behind him? That way, I'll never forget his name.
What I don't like is, again, they're grabbing these people too early. Like, just for God's sakes, leave them alone. Leave them alone. Let them develop.
Let them work.
Let them work for a little bit. I mean, they're all working. If they're at the point where they can have a half-hour special, then they're doing fine financially.
You know what's amazing?
They can put out albums whenever they want to on there, and they can build something much closer to their actual voice onto it, rather than suddenly they're in this giant theater that's way bigger than any place they've ever done before. When I did my first half hour for HBO, I was gobsmacked. I don't know if I was really ready, but I wanted it so badly.
Here's what's fascinating about the whole process that we're talking about. I'm pretty sure you, me, and any headliner in the United States, if Comedy Central said, instead of like having 5 half hours, they said, we'll give you 2 separate hours. Can you do an hour this year and an hour a year from now? We would absolutely do it.
Exactly.
So what the networks don't understand is you don't have to piecemeal a half hour of middle acts to America, because every stand-up comic, that headliners, like, all we want to do is we want to burn an hour because it makes us write another hour.
Yeah.
We would do that half hour twice. You just give us an hour instead of a half hour, and then you could put Jay Mohr behind me on the big.
And you'd have more surprises in the future from these young comedians that you left alone and let them build something
and
solid.
They'd be ready.
And then they do an hour rather than, And it's also, it takes all these great young comedians and makes them part of a herd. And that's not fair, because they are each doing something unique. But it's like, okay, here's a new season. Every week, someone new. Well, now it makes it not special.
People you never heard of this summer, coming soon.
Yeah. And by the way, people that you deserve to hear about and would hear about if we would just let them. Like, giving a comedian too young a half hour is like going to see an amazing bar band and surreptitiously recording them and going, we're just going to put, this is your album. That was a great set. I said, well, why don't you let us, we were kind of doing covers right then. Let me do something. Let me work on something. And even though I was doing original material for the first 6 years of my career, it was still in a version. It was almost a cover because I was aping other people's styles.
Yeah.
I didn't have my own voice. So I was funneling my real life experience through what I thought was the way you had to do comedy. You couldn't escape it. And it took you a while to break out of that. And that's part of what's great, is that you made yourself original because you had to fight through your influences.
Yeah. What is the name of your special on Epics?
It's called Tragedy Plus Comedy Equals Time.
I like that. Nothing can beat feeling kind of Patton.
Oh, thanks, man.
That's like where I go, drat. But my name doesn't lend itself to the feeling kind of Jay, feeling kind of Mohr. Like none of that works.
Yeah, you would have to. Well, you've got. I mean,
I went with funny for a girl. That was mine. My wife thought of it. She goes, I got the name for your new special. And I go, I wanted to go like, nah, I got this all covered. And then she had funny for a girl written down. I was like, you're right. That's the best possible one.
I remember I was, that whole funny for a girl, back in D.C. at Garvin's. I was hanging out and they had these flyers for, that woman, Jenny Jones. She ended up being a daytime talk show host. But before she was an awful daytime talk show host, she was a horrible stand-up comedian. And she would do these shows where it was for women only. Only women could come to see the show.
Just the girls.
Just the girls.
Back me up, ladies.
That's it. And she would tour these clubs and do this. And there was this comedian, Sue Kolinsky, who saw one of those flyers.
Used to be married to Steve Mason.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, she was looking at that flyer, and she was so incensed. I've never forgotten that. She was like, this is so fucking demeaning to me as a female. She goes, not even as a female, as a fucking comedian. I'll go up in front of any fucking audience, and I'll win them over. I'll make them laugh. And this flyer is implying that, well, a female comedian, it's really got to only be for female audience.
Right.
We got to have it special because we need special help and treatment. And this is what's going to, she goes, this is setting back women so fucking far right now. These goddamn shows for women only. Fuck that. I'll go in front of any fucking crowd.
And she did.
And she did, and she always killed.
Yeah, Sue was
but
always good.
I just always remember that. That was one of the first earliest examples I heard of. And I remember that when I was doing a lot of alt comedy and at the Largo a lot, which I loved the Largo, but there were a lot of people, a lot of my peers were saying, I got to be in front of my crowd. It's like, no, you got to make any crowd your crowd.
Yeah. And I think that's a big sea change, too, in comedy.
Now, don't go seeking out something you know is going to suck. Like, don't go sign up for, I did this, I'm going to do a show down at a spring break, Daytona Beach, like out on a, no, that might not be your,
I got a hat with 2 beer cans on it. It's the hat with 2 beer can party.
But if you're in a room and people are sitting down, you can win. You should be able to win them over.
Yeah, that was a big change with me was when I got offered corporate gigs.